The core business of Altius Investment Holdings lies in the essentials of life: energy, water and food. Today, we meet Nuwater, one of the company's subsidiaries, and look at the water cleaning services which it provides. Later, we'll visit the recently privatized Cape Town market to shop for some fresh stories delivered by Altius. I'm next to the Vaal River, one of the most important rivers in South Africa, and close to the site of Anglo-American thermal coal Nuwater Colliery, where Nuwater is contracted to purify mine water, as part of Anglo Coal's commitment to more sustainable and environmentally responsible mining practices. Situated on the Free State bank of the Vaal River in South Africa, the Anglo-American thermal coal Nuwater Colliery was established in 1983 to exclusively supply coal to the Eskom Letaba power station. The Vaal River is a vital source of water for industry and agriculture and supports around 12 million consumers in and around Gauteng, the economic heartland of South Africa. The mine wastewater resulting from production processes and the rainwater runoff used to be stored in a large reservoir and left to evaporate. Now it's channeled to the Nuwater plant, cleaned and pumped to the power station's cooling system, resulting in a cost-effective cycle which reduces water extraction from the river.
Nuwater designed, built and commissioned a 15 million litre a day mobile and modular water treatment plant here at Nuwater Colliery. The plant produces up to 20 million litres of purified water every day, and it is the largest mobile and modular plant of its kind in the world. We believe mobile units gives us a large amount of flexibility, that you can build a plant and scale it out and make it larger and smaller as you need it. We're also able to install it extremely quickly, so we can have water produced within weeks instead of months. We also get a very fast return on our investment, and largely it also allows us to remove the plant and deploy it elsewhere where it might be needed.
Anglo-American thermal coal strives to maximise the use of mine-affected water as much as possible. But where there is an excess, we need to treat that water in order to be able to use it in other processes. In the case of Nuwater Colliery, the treated water is supplied to Eskom's Letaba power station. This helps to reduce the impact of the power station on the external resources. The main objective of water management at Anglo-American Thermal Coal is to sustainably manage our finite resources and to turn potentially negative impacts into positive contributions to our environment.
I think water is a finite source, and there are many things that drive the demand for water: growing populations, urbanization, climate change, and as a result we're always going to find that there's going to be stress on our water resources. I think a project like this, although it doesn't provide water directly to people, goes a long way in helping in reusing water from industry instead of taking water from another source. And I think taking water to the people and treating water closer to where it's needed will also help address those things. There are other sources like the ocean, so desalination and water reuse I think will go a long way in starting to address those objectives in the years to come.
Nuwater invented the 16-inch reverse osmosis technology in South Africa. It was pioneered at one of the world's leading sewage wastewater reclamation plants in Singapore, where wastewater and seawater desalination are common practice to supplement insufficient rainwater catchment areas. It is now back and being used in Africa for its socio-economic and environmental benefits. 2 out of every 5 Africans lack access to an improved water supply. By 2015, Target 7C of the Millennium Development Goals aims to halve the proportion of people without sustainable access to safe drinking water and basic sanitation. Addressing the general health of the water environment and improving reuse alternatives both improves the quality as well as the availability of water for the African people.
When the Cape Town market was privatised by the City of Cape Town in March 2004, Altius made a successful bid and is now the controlling shareholder. What are your views as to the management of natural resources, specifically fresh produce, around the issues of sustainability?
We know that global warming affects the way we manage our resources. Water pollution, water contamination, and water as a resource becomes an impediment for all of the what we call food security. Then the issues of GM, genetically modified fruits or foods. The kind of jury's still out for me and our business whether we want to support this, but we'd rather would support what is called the labelling convention. So when people are eating fresh produce in South Africa or elsewhere in the world, they should know what they're eating and what effects it might or might not have. Lots of arable land is not being used for food. It's been used for biofuels. So it's finding that balance in terms of creating a sustainable planet that you can regenerate these resources, but at the same time doing it in a responsible way. So when we trade with farmers, we're asking them, what are they doing to save the arable land? Are they damaging these crops? Is the topsoil being eroded without catchment areas? Is there better management control about our dams in South Africa? Is the water resource being used very carefully? Does the mining institutions or companies just dump their waste into the estuaries so that bird life and other lives that actually creates this resource to multiply is there and not being wasted? We do intrinsically support the free market notion, but we have a responsibility to the poor. We have a responsibility to Cape Townians and South Africans that prices in terms of the food security issues is controlled so that people can have the basic food stuff, the vegetables, the potatoes, the onions. These are stuff that people consume every day, that these prices are not rocketed up. So it's quite a balancing act where you introduce free market, but with some kind of checks and balances that it's not manipulated. We've introduced new IT systems that allows us to pay the farmer within 24 hours. So his or her cash management is much, much better. We introduced what is called service level agreements that was never here historically. So the buyers can come here, they can have price discovery, they can know that they are fair, that they know that they are treated right, and they know that their produce that is sold is a produce that they can resell on the basis of equity and fairness. It's a huge metamorphosis in the trading relationships which markets didn't have. We're the only market in South Africa that has a covenant, and that covenant speaks to a number of issues of governance, of transparency and fair practice in trade.
Altius is an investment holding company centred on commodities, but also involved in the technological and financial sectors. As such, they are well positioned to observe international food commodities markets, which could play an important role in setting best practice benchmarks towards ensuring global food security in the future.
Best practice would mean that we accept international benchmarks first. And one of the companies we closely associated with internationally, which trades in different commodities like soya, wheat and sugar, is Noble, which is listed on the Singapore Stock Exchange. And we benchmark their particular mechanisms in terms of what is best practice in terms of sellable goods. Whatever we do, we believe should transcend across the whole of South Africa as a country, and also the whole of sub-Saharan Africa, and then eventually Africa, through the peer review mechanisms, price discovery, fair practices, treatment of our buyers and our sellers and our producers very fairly, and that the price mechanisms used can transcend all stratas of people who buy. So from the very poorest of the poor to the very more affluent people, all of them are getting prices benchmarked which is fair. Issues of climate change, child labor, occupation and safety, all of these things that are brought into book that creates a fair trading platform and the transparency. And that's the change which we hope to bring.
In addition to being a responsible corporate citizen in its business practices, Altius also makes a significant impact on communities in need through its social responsibility initiatives.
When we started Altius, one of the first visions we had was to help communities, poorer communities, at least have a decent meal once a day or even once every 2 days. And part of the food on the table process means that many of the produce that we have, we can use it to absolutely change the lives of people. So many NGOs, churches and community organizations, they come here every day to collect thousands and thousands of kilos of vegetables which they turn into soups and actually feed communities.
Thanks for joining us on It's Africa's Time, and don't miss our next episode where we meet with the role players from 3 organizations who are acting as agents of change throughout Africa.